Every morning, somewhere on the internet, someone is telling you to believe in yourself harder, to visualize the life you want, to stay positive, to be grateful, to manifest, to hustle, to remember that the only thing standing between you and the life you deserve is your mindset and your willingness to want it badly enough. And if you have ever consumed that content, nodded along, felt briefly inspired, and then found yourself 6 months later in roughly the same place you started, I want you to consider a possibility the self help industry does not want you to sit with. The problem might not be you, the problem might be the advice itself. Mark Manson opens this book with an argument that is uncomfortable, precisely because it is aimed directly at the industry he is writing within. The entire framework of modern self help, he says, is built on a false and quietly destructive premise. That premise is this: the goal of a good life is to feel good as much as possible, to want more, expect more, believe you deserve more, and keep reaching for more until the good feelings finally arrive and stay. On the surface, this sounds reasonable, aspirational even. But Manson's argument is that this framework, absorbed deeply enough and repeated loudly enough and long enough, produces a very specific and very common kind of suffering that almost nobody names accurately. Here is the mechanism, and it is worth understanding precisely. When you are constantly told to want more, to expect more, to visualize the extraordinary life you deserve, every moment in which you do not have more becomes quiet evidence of failure. Every ordinary Tuesday, every average performance review, every relationship that is genuinely good but not cinematic, every ambition that is moving steadily rather than exploding upward on the timeline you were told to expect. The gap between the life the industry has told you to want and the life you are actually living does not motivate you the way you have been promised it will. It demoralizes you, slowly, persistently, and in a way that is hard to trace back to its actual source. And here's what makes this particularly insidious as a system. The response of the self-help industry to that demoralization is to sell you more of exactly the same thing that caused it. More visualization, more belief, more content about the breakthrough that is coming. If you can just maintain the faith a little longer. Manson calls this the feedback loop from hell. The harder you try to feel positive about everything, the more acutely aware you become of every moment you do not feel positive. The more aggressively you chase the feeling of being exceptional, the more loudly ordinary registers as a problem requiring a solution. The more you are told that extraordinary is the baseline standard everyone should be reaching for, the more a genuinely good and meaningful life feels like falling short. So what is the alternative? And this is where most people misread this book before they have even opened it. Manson is not arguing for pessimism. He is not telling you to stop caring, lower your standards, give up on ambition, or resign yourself to a life of comfortable mediocrity. The argument is far more precise than that, and considerably more useful in practice. The alternative is to stop asking, "How do I feel better about my life?" and start asking something more honest and more demanding. What is actually worth caring about? Because here's the reality that the motivational content machine never tells you clearly. You have a genuinely finite amount of energy, attention, and emotional bandwidth. Every single day you are spending that bandwidth on something whether you have chosen deliberately or not. The industry tells you to expand your wanting, stretch your ambition, and believe harder in everything you deserve. Manson says the useful skill runs in exactly the opposite direction. It is not expansion, it is selection. Ruthless, honest, deliberate selection of what actually deserves the finite energy you have. And most people have never been taught to select. They have only been taught to want more, reach further, and feel quietly guilty when they fall short of a standard nobody ever helped them honestly examine in the first place. This series works through the ideas in this book one at a time, not as a summary of what Manson wrote, as an honest examination of what actually changes when you apply these ideas to how you spend your attention and your time. The next video addresses the reframe that almost everyone misunderstands about this book before they read it properly. Not giving a fuck does not mean not caring about anything. It means something far more precise, far more difficult, and far more worth understanding. Subscribe so you do not miss it.